So we are continuing on with chapter 2. Now, did our light not come on? There we go. And while we're getting powered up here, just a refresher, because tipped employees are a little tricky. Can anybody give me the overview of how we handle tipped employees? There is a base rate, and what is it? It is. Let's see if I can find the slide. Here we are. Yeah, it's $2.13 an hour is minimum tipped wage, right? And so on a federal level. And so at the end of the day, your employees have to gross $290 a week, right, between tips and wages. So if they don't get there between the $2.13 an hour and your tips, what do you have to do as an employer? You just got to pay them more. You got to get them up to that $290, right? So as an employer, I'm hoping to get you tip credit of the difference between federal minimum wage of $7.25 and federal minimum tip wage of $2.13. That's my tip credit as an employer. But if my customers don't tip you up $5.12 an hour, I've got to come up with it. I don't get credit. Okay. Okay, so also we're basically talking about the Fair Labor Standards Act, right? And the FLSA does a couple of really important things. One thing it does is set minimum wage, right? We've been talking about that ad nauseam. Thank you. The other thing, or other two big things that it does, is establish an overtime provision and child labor laws. And now we're going to talk about overtime provisions for LOBA. So first off, you can, as an employer, you can say, you can establish your work week however you want. Friday through Thursday, Wednesday through Tuesday, you can do whatever you want. You just can't mix it up once you've established it. Right? So establish my work week, it has to be 7 consecutive 24-hour policies. Great. And if you are, follow this term, because we're going to define it a little bit more thoroughly in a second here. If you are a non-exempt employee, you must be paid 1.5 times your regular rate for any hours worked over 40. And I'm going to define what an exempt employee is in a moment. One more time. 1.5 times your regular rate. I can do more if I want. I can pay double time. Whenever I go to Rose Hours, I've been going there 5 times a week for 25 years, so everyone knows me. I live right by it. And I always ask the gals, are you working on Thanksgiving? You working on Christmas? You working on Labor Day? They get 2.5 times their base pay. So it's not tough to get people to volunteer, right? So you can do whatever you want, but at the bare minimum, over 40, ladies, you've got to work, you've got to pay at least 1.5 times the base rate. Now, and then the second bullet here says some states, not Montana, but some states require that you pay overtime over 8 hours a day. Not 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day. Which is problematic if you want to, if your people you want them to work 4 10s. I mean, you can do it, but you're going to have to pay them overtime over 8 hours a day in California, for example. Yeah. Okay, so you can require your employees to work overtime, and if they say no, you can say you're out of here. So you can require it. Okay, I run a print shop, and we've got monthly bulletins to get out, or I'm a faith-based print shop, and every Sunday you've got all these missiles to get out for your parishes or whatever. Like, you have to work overtime to make this happen for this as a part of the game, and you're terminated at the end. There's a couple exceptions to the 40 hours in 1 week, and that's on that second bullet. So hospital employees are not required to be given overtime until they hit 80 hours in 14 days. Yes, ma'am.
With that overtime requirement, do they have to state that when they're going through the hiring process, or do they change
Okay, so the question is, do they need to state the fact that overtime may be required in the position? And I don't know this for a fact, but I would err on the side of saying, yeah, I would probably let my employees know that. For one thing, like, childcare issues, just anything like that, certainly.
And if you're terminated, you can back.
If it was not delineated up front that it was a part of the job, and I'm a single mom and I've got a 45-minute commute, I mean, no, I can't just stay after on Fridays for 2 hours, right? So yeah, it's got to be delineated up front. Okay, compensatory time off. How many people have heard of this thing called comp time? Okay, it's really misunderstood and misused. Okay, so comp time, let me tell you how it's misunderstood, and then let me tell you what it really is. In the misunderstood version of it, it's like, oh, I'm going to have you work 50 hours this week for my print shop, just because we're going with that example, right, to meet some deadlines. But then you don't need to work Monday, and you can come in 2 hours late on Tuesday. And then we're just going to be even Steven, right? Can you do that? Why not? Steven, 50 hours one week, 30 the next. Well, so say I've even got excellent record keeping. Why can't I do that? You just saw that on the prior slide. The FLSA says what? If you are a non-exempt employee, you must be paid 1.5 times your rate for anything over 40 hours in the corporate work week. Beginning and end of story. Except if you're a hospital employee. Now, there are some very few exceptions where I can do that example I just gave you of comp time. Right? If you're a state or political subdivision and or an interstate governmental agency, so I'm the Department of Transportation, right? Or I'm the city of Missoula, I can do that. I can say, please, I need you guys for 80 hours this week because we're getting ready for a voting cycle. But then you don't need to come to work next week, though, once we're through the voting cycle. You can do that. But I can't do that if I'm like a veterinary clinic. If you're an employee for public safety or emergency response, I'm a smoke jumper, I'm an EMT, I'm a first line triage nurse, okay? Then I can get comp time. It has to be given to you at 1.5 times the hours that are being comped. So you are a smoke jumper, and this week you need to work 65 hours a week. How many hours did I work overnight for? 25. So how many hours of comp time do they have to give you? 25 times 1.5 or 37 hours. See what I'm saying? And then lastly, if your work doesn't include activities from the exception in the bullet above, you can accumulate up to 240 hours of comp time. So it's super, super specific groups of folks. Now, keep that in the back of your mind. Oh, and then also, when you leave the company, they've got to pay you out in comp time. And they've got to pay you up cash out for the comp time. That doesn't just go away. This is arguably one of the most important things you will learn in this chapter. Exempt versus non-exempt. Exempt means, and you should all be able to spit this back out to me when I say exempt employees, exempt from what? Exempt from the overtime provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. I'm an exempt employee. And I'll explain why, because I fall into one of the very few categories. So okay, I'll put up the categories, and then we'll talk about how they're defined and also how they're misused. Okay, so if you go to page 2-10 and look at figure 2.2, it shows these categories of white-collar workers. And they're people that are paid at least $455 a week. they're paid on salary, and they fit into one of these categories: executives, administrators, professionals, computer professionals, creative professionals, or business owners. But, so you look at something like, say, an administrator. So I hire you as my office manager. And really your tasks are to just sit at my front desk. You really are primarily a receptionist. You know, you maybe make some copies, you make maybe some appointments, you take my deposits to the bank, you reconcile my bank statement, but you do a lot of really highly repetitive, largely protocol-driven tasks. Okay? And I put you on salary, and I pay you $2,000 a month, and I work you 55 hours a week. But that's okay, right, under this, because you're an administrator. Are you really an administrator? I call you my office administrator. But when you dial into it, it talks about things like what percentage of your job is discretionary. Like you have to make decisions how you do your job. You hire and fire. You control, you hire and fire, you have discretion. You've got professional credentials. If none of those are true, which in the example I just gave you, none of those were true. A high school grad, I give you a fancy title, I put you on salary, I'm like, oh, you have to do this, and I work you 58 hours a week. No, because you don't really fall into that category because you don't have any discretion in your job. You don't hire and fire, you don't have a staff.
So this kind of abused almost like.
It gets abused all the time.
Contractor is so gray, like.
It's just like the independent contractor versus employee. This exempt versus non-exempt thing is a very gray area. There was recently a court case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. Therefore, you're still not that recent. But when Obama was still president, so 3 years ago. And it was from a group of mid-level managers at Best Buy. And they're supposedly they run the store, right? And they're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week. Paid $3,000 a month, right? And they're like, we really aren't any of these categories. We can't control our inventory, we can't control our marketing, we don't hire and fire, that all comes out of corporate, we don't handle any of the money, that all comes out of corporate. I mean, they can't even control the temperature of the goddamn places. It's managed out of corporate. And they're like, we're not really an exempt employee. Okay? And they want it. They want it.
To get back pay and all of that.
I believe it's subsequent. So they have to be reclassified. And all of a sudden, Best Buy's model changes pretty dramatically, doesn't it? When people even working 80 hours a week, but all of a sudden, like, you either need 2 of them or you need to pay them overtime.
So what people are, like, do they just not know, or do they not?
Honestly, really, a lot of people just don't know.
Okay.
On both sides, you don't know your rights as an employee, and I'm an employer who's like, well, my buddy, who's got a construction firm, has an office manager that he pays $2,000 a month to, and she stays late, 4 days a month to run payroll, right? I mean, and then, I'm sure there's a X% that are just abusing it, they do that. So this is super critical, you guys. This is super, super critical. This last little bullet I just put up is sort of ancillary, but you actually, one of your pieces of homework address this, which is, even if I'm exempt, on the first week that I start my job, and then 28 years later on the last week that I leave my job, they can actually allocate the number of days that I'm there. So for example, say I make, just for easy math, say that I make $52,000 a year. So $1,000 a week, right? And the very first week that I come to work, I start on a Thursday, they can pay me 1,000 times 2/5. Right, 2 out of 5 days. So we can allocate it. On the very last day, 28 years later, they can make my $1,000. I leave on a Thursday, they need 4/5 of the week. But everything in between, I'm exempt, I get $1,000 a week. You see what I'm saying?
So how would you track what you say to someone who's not salary, if like they do stuff, like so for example, my mom, an example, and she has a scheduler on call 24 hours a day.
Right.
That has to like sort of call me and either if they do something,
Right.
stuff about things, like if you're calling, not calling,
On-call is a whole different system. On-call is a whole different system. If you have people that just carry, for example, I mean, I know beepers are obsolete, but just people that are in some version of it, you do not have to compensate them for on-call time per se. But then when they are working, from the second they pick up the call, they're on the clock. So, I mean, on-call just sucks, let's be honest. It's like, I'm not gonna pay you, so it's Saturday, and like, I wanna go rafting, and maybe get a couple beers, or go golfing, but it's like, yeah, I can't really do that 'cause I'm on call. So, I mean, it's just, my husband did that for a number of years with youth services, and that was just brutal. Okay, so, wait, just what happened just there? Oh, that figure didn't come up, okay. So anyways, please go look at figure 2.2 on your own. That's important. I'm an exempt employee because I'm a professional. I fall into the professional category. I've got a certification, higher ed, almost everything I do is discretionary. Literally everything I do is discretionary. Teach these classes, I don't care how you do them, I don't care how you run them, and unless we get lots of overt student complaints, just keep doing what you're doing.
So my question is, I have to make like 450 on salary.
455, yeah.
Yeah, so if you fall under that, you
Are automatically non-exempt.
Okay.
Did you guys hear Gabby's question? She said up there, so you have to make 455 a week. If the wage that you're quoted is under that, you're automatically non-exempt. Under just the basic premise that, if you're making less than whatever that equates to, $10.30 an hour, by nature, you're probably not an executive, a professional, a creative professional, a computer professional, etc.
But if you do have to,
If you fall under 455 a week, you're not exempt. Good question. So basically, these old-fashioned titles of like or categories like white collar workers and blue collar workers, are a little bit obsolete. But really, anything that's manual labor oriented is by nature non-exempt. On the whole, that's a pretty good broad-based way to look at it. But it includes, what we also look at is like professionals, even though they're still like manually working, like police officers, EMTs, firefighters, LPNs. The big misconception is putting someone on salary makes them exempt. That's not a true statement. Okay, so everyone feel clear about that? So the next step that we're going into is pretty important. Okay, we've got 6 minutes left. I really want to run through some calculations. I'm going to come back to child labor next week because I want to start through some of these calcs. Okay, so the first thing I want to make really clear is that you can pay people however you want. I could cut you a paycheck every day. I could cut you a paycheck once every 6 months. Whatever I want to do, as long as I treat you all equitably. But that's not really how it works. Most everybody's paid in one of these 4 methods. And I mean, these two are pretty easy. The bottom two, how often are you paid if you're paid monthly? 12 times. How often are you paid if you're paid weekly? 52 times. The one that kind of throws people for a loop, so I want you to focus in on, is the difference between biweekly and semi-monthly. Okay? Biweekly is every other Friday, every other Wednesday. Okay? So I'm paid 26 times a year. In 2 months, I get what? 3 checks. If I paid and so there's 80 hours in each pay period, isn't it, for biweekly, if you're full-time, right? Because every other Thursday. Semi-monthly is not the same thing. Semi-monthly is like I'm paid, like my husband's paid on the 5th and the 20th of each month. That's semi-monthly, that's twice a month, that's 24 times a year. And then there's different numbers of hours, aren't there? some paychecks might, if you're non-exempt, might be as small as 72 hours, and some might be as big as 96, depending upon where exactly the days fall. Okay? All right, so, and then same with monthly, is that the same amount of hours or different? Different, again, depending on how many days in the month and when the first is and blah, blah, blah. And then weekly is the same all the time, right? So the way the book teaches us is a little bit different from how I teach it. I actually write these slides. I'm a contributor to the textbook, and we just have a respectful difference of opinion. So the slides are based on the book, but bear with me, I think I can make this pretty clear. We're gonna just tweak what the slides do just a touch. Okay, so let me just start here. I just want to go through one of these. And then we'll go back. I know it's flying through a lot of these slides and cover some more of that text-based content on Monday. But I want to give you some tools to do a little bit of homework over the weekend in the last 4 minutes here. So we've got a gal here, Oshiko, and she works for Tinto Inc. And she has 2 different jobs, right? She's a systems tech, or I guess he's a systems tech for $14.50 an hour, and then he also takes care of the lawn in front of the building for $11 an hour. And in this week, he worked 43 hours in total, right? So the question is, how do I pay him overtime? And you've got 3 choices. And I just want to walk you through these. The first choice is, okay, first let's just figure out what his regular pay is. $14.50 an hour times 37 hours, right? First jump. Plus 6 hours for $11 an hour. Great. And in the first method, I'm going to tack on the 0.5 at the highest pay rate. And his highest pay rate was $14.50, clearly. So I put on that extra 0.5, right, to get it to 1.5 for the last 3 hours. Does that make sense? You're just nodding your head. Help me clarify it, because this is...
Yeah, I guess I'm confused by the 0.5.
Because he's already getting the 1.0, right? The 1450 is the 1.0. Now he's got to get 1.5. So that's called the premium. I need to tack on that 0.5. Is there a difference between an overtime rate and an overtime premium? Probably. An overtime rate is the full 1.5. An overtime premium is just the 0.5. He's already getting the 1.0. So in the first example, the company has made the decision to compensate overtime at the highest rate. Always going to be beneficial for the employee, right? That's one way to do it. These are all acceptable. You have to state it, obviously, in your HR protocol, which are the methods you use. The second way to handle compensation for Oshiko is to say, what was his weighted average wage? And then calculate the 0.5 premium of that. So we're just back up, we start by calculating his regular pay. $14.50 times 37 hours plus 11. $5 an hour times 6 hours, he made $602.50 in total. How many hours did it take him to do that? Yeah, how many hours did it take him to generate $602.50? 43 hours. So he averaged what? 1401. And that makes sense, because clearly he worked a whole bunch more hours at the 1450 than he did at the 11. So if he averaged 1401, his premium's going to be half of that, isn't it? 0.5. So that's what he gets for the last 3 hours. That's his regular rate for all 43 hours, yeah. And then he gets that 0.5.
I would think you put it from just like money, is that always
this is all, method one's always going to benefit the employee. Method two, in my mind, is the most equitable because I feel like I should get overtime based upon where my weight was. If I worked most of my hours at 11 and only a couple at 14.50, I feel like my premium should be closer to the 0.5 of $11, not the 0.5 of, does that make sense? And then the last method just says, whatever he was doing when he went into overtime, that's what he gets back. So in this case, he did his 37 hours as a systems tech, and then he came in on Saturday and mowed the lawn. So he was making $11 an hour when he went into overtime.
Is that pretty standard, the last one?
The middle one's the most standard. And that's actually the fairest, not that way. Because you might have people that work 2 or 3 or 4 different jobs. Okay, so enough fun on Friday here with payroll. Why don't you do for Monday, we didn't get our nothing calculations, why don't you do the review questions and the discussion questions? Okay, have a great weekend. Thank you.
Oh,